Hey, welcome to Obsessive Audio. Is this thing on, man? Is this thing on? Dropping in for a very quick live stream because yesterday Acustica Audio released a plugin called Sienna Sphere. And let's take a look at that right now. Sienna Sphere is the latest addition to their Sienna series. It's a Binauralizer for surround sound and Dolby Atmos audio, 3D, immersive. It's very cool. It enables you to get some of that experience in the headphones without the huge setup, although the huge setup is always cool. But this is definitely a step towards the audio revolution, as some have said. I have just been, what am I saying here? I've been learning as much as I can, as quickly as possible about the new formats, including Dolby Atmos, Mpeg H, there's one called Oro, there's DTSX, there's a whole bunch of stuff. Sienna's mostly focused on the Atmos specs, but it's almost difficult. Like where do you start with it? I guess if you're familiar with surround sound, you know that you had in the beginning. I guess you had like a 3.1, but then you had the 5.1 systems, which the 5 would be the speakers that are around your ears. So 5 of them, left, center, right, and then the 2 surrounds in the back. So that's 5, and then the 0.1 would refer to your low frequency LFE, low frequency effects, the subwoofer. Essentially, that's the 0.1. So the new specs have now added speakers on the ceiling. So you could have, say, the standard 7.1.4 would be 7 speakers around you, 3 in the front, 2 in the sides, 2 in the back, the 0.1 being the subwoofer, and then 4 speakers in the front. And the thing about new generation audio is you do get that feature. That would be called the bed. So that would be like your standard surround sound. Everything's mixed, everything's baked in. You make the surround mix, and there it is. That's locked into the bed. That doesn't change. But now, with the new generation audio on top of that, you can have objects. And objects are basically like sounds that are they're separated. You're delivering that final file, but they're still separate from that mix. So they can be rendered on the spot during playback. So it's like a sound that's on its own track, and then it's also got metadata, and the metadata would essentially be like panning information, position information, where should it be at this point in the audio, where does it move. It's really cool stuff. It's pretty like mind-blowing, really. I was up pretty late last night and looking at it earlier today. And then also Sienna, we want to put Sienna in Reaper right now. I'll show you how for free, for no money whatsoever, you can at least start running Sienna and hearing some of the sounds and the binaural effects. Even if it's not the full object Atmos workflow, you could still get a really good idea of what Sienna does and if the surround mixing paradigm is for you. But
it's mysterious that it generates butterflies in my stomach, and that goes to tickles in my spine, and that creates goose pimples, and then that penetrates my mind, and then the whole Big Bang explosion.
I guess a little bit of background. There really is so much information here. I'm still finding it a little bit crazy, as you saw. Now, the specifications for Atmos. There is a deliverable file, and it's called an ADM, and that stands for Audio Definition Model. This actually was developed as an open source thing. Let me see if I can scroll through these pages and find. I'm going to put all these links in the bottom, by the way, for all this stuff that I've looked at. So maybe that will help speed up the process of figuring out. You know, I can't find that right now. But audio definition model, it's got your stems in there, like your bed, and it's got all the objects. It's got all the metadata that tells what the objects what to do, and part of that idea is so that if you've got If you're just listening on a stereo device, it'll automatically fold everything down to stereo. If you're just listening on a 5.1 system, it'll do the calculations. How loud does each speaker need to be? And that'll go up to like 22 speakers if you've got a system that large, big cinema. So the idea was that you could take a very complex surround mix with loads of information, fold that down, even like a little stereo bar. And in headphones, there's an additional feature, which is the binauralization. Impulse, well, head-related transfer functions, I guess I should say. It helps the ear identify the different cues of where sound is coming from. And I'm sure maybe some of you have played with like the Deer VR stuff, the 3D audio stuff. I guess I am probably babbling a little too much now, but I wanted to find that page. Here's some studies on sound localization. I was looking at that. I'm going to put all these links below. Here's the Acustica Audio Sienna Sphere product page. Very cool. This is it. ADM for absolute beginners. This is the site which I will link to, and it'll tell you exactly what an ADM file is, what's inside of it. And there are different kinds of ADM files, like different specifications. The Fraunhofer specification, for instance, is totally open source. It's free, and that's the EBU standard. You can get a set of tools that'll allow you to author that Mpeg H. Let me see if I can find where's Mpeg H. Yeah, you get a set of tools for free. It'll allow you to author full Mpeg H immersive audio, and it is free. You have to ask them though. You have to be approved. I guess they look at you or whatever. And that does exactly the same thing as Atmos, but it's different from Atmos because the Dolby have, of course, their own specs. So that'll get you part of the way towards immersive sound. Very functional. They use Mpeg H. They use all over South Korea now in broadcasts. They did the Eurovision 2019, I believe, using this. It's starting to be all over the place. Just like I am right now, because there's so much. Other formats exist. The Atmos, of course, not the only game in town. You got 360 reality, which is Sony has an initiative, and that's on Tidal now for music. And that's a cool one. This one focuses a lot on when you move your head, the whole sound field changes, and all of the object-based audio systems can do that, but 360 Reality's taken that pretty far, so there's a toolkit that you can buy from them if you want to author in that format. There is Oro 3D. If you're from Europe, you probably know Oro. It's much more popular there. Some people says it sounds better, but they'll take their Atmos movie and like upmix it to Oro, and that's better. It's also surround systems, slightly different in the way that it works, but it's very cool. TTSX, that's another option. Immersive audio is taking off. It really is, I think, going to be a revolution. And the reason I say that is because it doesn't depend on the playback anymore. If all you got is headphones, it'll play back. If you've got mono, it'll play back. Stereo bar, play back. If you've got a full surround system, it'll play back. I think that's the first time a format has successfully been able to do that, to bridge the gap. Meaning that, like, if you had back in the 5.1 days, you'd have to have a 5.1 system to even get any of the effects. So I think it's here to stay. The streaming services are picking up on all of this stuff. The movie industry, of course, and the broadcast, they're already been on this for years, but music it's really making headway. So let's go to Sphere, and I'm going to show you how to set up Sphere in Reaper pretty quickly. Now, first things first is that you want to set on your format, meaning over here in the presets, and they do recommend that you just stick with the presets in the beginning. You got 2.0, 7.1.4, 9.1.4. I decided on 7.1.4. So if you do the math on that, 7 plus 1 plus 4, that's 12 channels. So in Reaper, you're going to have to set your channels, like everything you're doing, to 12 channels. And the way you do that is here in the routing tab. You pull that up. And track channels, you can see there, I've set that to 12. Same thing in the individual channels that you're mixing. Pull up that tab, and you have track channels 12. And that will give you the 7.1.2. You're going to need to do that. See, I haven't done this on these other two channels yet, so let me just do that real quick right now to show you in action. There's 12 channels there. And we'll go here. There's 12 channels. And I've got Sphere on the master channel, which was, of course, as you saw, was also set to 12. Let's look at some of these presets that it comes with, and I'll try to explain, as far as I can remember from the manual, what they are. These are binauralizers. So basically what they're doing is they're taking your surround mix, either with, with the surround panning or with the objects, which we don't have the objects in this session. It's just like a basic surround mix. But, and then it's going to binauralize them to simulate in the headphones the sounds as they come from up top, behind, left, right, and so forth. Now, both Apple Music and also, where else is this? Are they streaming from? Because there's two different decoders out there already for Dolby Atmos in the music world. So there's Apple and Dolby here. They sound different. I know it's crazy. So your mix, your Atmos mix, when it's heard on headphones, is going to sound different on Apple versus some of the other services because their decoders are different. Now, what Acustica has done here is they say, all right, let's give you an idea of what it's going to sound like, say, on Apple Spatial Audio. Standard Atmos decoding, which does have the far, near, and mid modes in it. And then they've done their own here, which is the Acustica 3D, supposed to be improved versions. It's supposed to have more of the inaural time and volume angle differences, technical stuff, but those are in those papers. If you're interested in reading, I'll add those to the links. So those are your basic decoders. So this is how you would hear the mix when it is played back in headphones. So if you made an Atmos track and you submitted that to like DistroKid, the different services will play it back differently. And they've gone as far as they could to matching the sound without actually, matching it and infringing copyright and stuff. So those are your basic standard decoders. Now, when you're actually mixing, you may want to add the room sound, the studio sound, and the speakers, and that you do lose a little bit of that localization, but you gain a sense of ambience. And they've got 3 studios, I think, that is included with this. And then they also said that you can run some of the other Sienna rooms somehow if you've got the other Sienna with the add-on packs, the first Sienna. There's the second studio. Real room. Hog studio, yeah. And then here's OS, and there's another Atmos room, I guess. So let's hear what we have going on. Let's go back to that very first preset. We're 7.1.4, remember? I'm just going to pull these down. It's just a voice and acoustic guitar. And here's where the cool free part comes in. Reaper comes with a resurround pan. And this is cool because you can specify, actually let me stop this right now. You can specify different surround configurations. There's 2 actually. When you go into Reaper and you look, you're going to see resurround and then resurround pan. Resurround is the older one. I guess they've still included it, but it has it doesn't have any of the modern configurations with the ceiling speakers. So you get choice. We got 7.1, 7.2, 7.1.4 surround or 7.4 ITU. So I just picked, what was I on, ITU? It doesn't really matter right now. So now here's where we get to a very important thing. You have to make sure that these channels here, and the way they're labeled, left front, right front, center front, LFE, you have to make sure that they match what Sienna's getting, right? Okay, so we've got left, right, center, LFE, yes. And then right here is where I immediately noticed a problem, is that it goes left, right, center, low frequency, and then it goes boom, straight to the back, to the surrounds. And that actually, I looked it up, that actually is the proper Dolby specification. And that is the way that they have labeled, and also the way that they have ordered the different speakers. All right, so left, right, center, LFE, left surround, that's in the back, right surround, that's in the back, and then the side speakers. But if you look on the plug-in here, it goes left, front, right, front, center, front, LFE, and then it goes to the sides, not to the surrounds. So if you just load up this plug-in, it's not going to be routed properly. What do you have to do? I checked everything. I checked it all the way through, including the ceiling speakers and all those channels. So what you need to do is reverse the surrounds with the sides. So like 5 and 6 as a pair, and 7 and 8 as a pair, you need to swap those two pairs. That is how I did it. And I went up here to the little routing panel for the plug-in. So instead of that line going straight down, you can see that those two pairs have been switched. Now everything should work. Let's pull up an acoustic guitar. Let's pan some things around in our basic 3D field. Is that working? Oh no, because that's on the vocal. Hang on. Let's center that. Let's just copy this plugin over. Hopefully those routings are going to be the same. Let me make sure, and they are good. So I just made 2 copies of the panner, the Reaper panner. So now I could just start off with one of these acoustics. There we go, and let's pan around in our space here. Side. Back. Let's give it some elevation with this Z. Let's give it like 6 dBs. Let's give it some more. 10. I think elevation is probably the most difficult thing to reproduce. I mean, I'm noticing a bit more air though. Okay, so let's switch it for one of the rooms. And hear the difference there. Let's go to the Hog. Real room 3D clarity, that sounds good to me. Now let's pan some stuff around. Pretty nice. Why don't we stick with this and let's just load these up so that the panners show up in the multi-track or in the mixer. So now we'll have our panners just available right on the mixer. And then we can start to just mix some stuff. Let's take this, go up. Well, there was something else too that I probably should have mentioned. Input channels, you should set that, if you've got a stereo track, you need to set that to 2. If it's a mono track, you really should set it to 1. Because what happens if you've got it set to 2, it's going to give you 2 of these doodads here for the left and right inputs. Which is cool. If you got a stereo source, you can put the left and right of that stereo source different places in the surround mix. So, but all these are mono tracks, so I just set them for 1. Now, I'm not hearing that because I am not panning the right one. This is what we need. But I don't know why that's not panning. Let's go here. Let's go stereo pan. Let's put them kind of like that. Let's bring this other one in. It's double tracked. And let's bring in a vocal. Alright, now that needs a little help. Pretty cool. Let's turn the acoustic down just a little bit. And then we'll go, hey, wouldn't it be nice to have a reverb or something on that vocal? And this is when you go, hey, I just started mixing in surround. So now I have to go through all my plugins and find out which ones can handle surround and which ones can't. Isn't that fun, right? But I can help you out right away, Reaper users especially, but let's see, there's my stream there. Where are these? Okay, first thing you got to go here to the IEM plugin suite. That has tons of surround and immersive audio plugins. There's like a compressor and an equalizer and a reverb and a delay, and there's a million other plugins in there that I don't know what they do yet because I just downloaded it, but let's put a reverb from them. And then there's also the Eer Production Suite, and this will help you build the immersive audio as well. And this will enable you to make an actual ADM final deliverable file. It won't be Atmos, it won't be Dolby specs, but it's like the same thing. Dolby is, you know, Dolby is Dolby, right? They're tied in with Apple now, and they made a huge push to try and win the music space, which it's looking like they might do. But next generation audio is not just for Dolby. They're not the only, they're not the sole proprietors of the technology, as it were. So anyway, so this Eer Production Suite is joint open source development of BBC R&D and IRT. And I haven't played with this yet, but I wanted to show it to you, so I downloaded both of these last night. But I have tried the some of the IEM stuff. So let's go back into Reaper. Let's make a track. This will be our reverb return track. Let's make sure it's the right amount of channels. It will be getting 12 channels, right? Okay. Then let's put this here so you can see it. IEM. See, here's all the IEM plugins. There comes a VST and also VST3. There's some stuff. There's a binaural decoder, which is, I suppose that's, you could call Sienna Sphere that. It's a binauralizer, a decoder. Or maybe not. Maybe the binaural decoder is the other direction. That's probably what that is. Anyway, I have not played with all these. Distance compensator, directivity shaper, energy visualize. Here's the reverb. But as you can see here, for free, you can't go wrong. Let's put the reverb on here. Let's make sure that it's 12 in, 12 out. And it is. That's good. Room size. Oh, let's make sure it's set for wet. Let's put the acoustics in there. And the voice, why not? We'll do a little bit of cohesion there, some correlation. Put them in the same reverb. That's probably going to be pretty loud. So let's just turn all these down, the sends. Let's see what this reverb sounds like.
Coming up from behind.
Let's put it on the voice first.
Moving faster than what was once a dream in your mind.
I think it does need quite a bit. It seems to be quiet. Yeah, not bad. I think this is a very basic reverb here in terms of the algorithm. Spatially, Oh, I know what let's do. If you remember last week, we did Tai Chi. That does surround sound. There we go. Tai Chi. Let's put it on there. Make sure it's for wet. Sure. Let's go with that.
I can't wait. And I won't break.
Just need a little bit more gain. The thing I'm coming to terms with the surround too is that the way you got to remember you're dealing with 12 channels, so you know you may be only moving one fader. We're sending one thing to a reverb, but it's 12 channels.
A shooting star.
So not only
A distant reminder
is that going to
of
react
what
differently,
you
not only is that going to react differently from what you're used to, maybe with the way the gains are and the way things fold down and the way, oh, sorry about that, and the way they get louder when they fold down, or the way they spread out when they're you know, sent to something. The gains may not be what you're used to in stereo. And then the other thing I noticed about it, of course, is the CPU. It's you know, it's 12 times the information, right? So that sounded pretty good to me. Let's
coming up from behind.
just pan around that voice. Let's play with it.
Faster than what was once a
Let's just open it up here.
dream in your mind. And I can't wait.
Oh, okay, I see what's going on now. I think Tai Chi is only 7.1.2. So there's probably some channels that might have to go in there and configure it.
Moving faster than what was once a
See that? Like a,
dream in your mind.
so sometimes it's getting stuff, sometimes it isn't. That would probably, that's probably maybe the, I don't know. I'd have to look at it.
I can't wait.
Find out where that gap is. It's in the routing somewhere. So that's just with the
I won't break.
anyway, so that is how you would set up your basic surround panning and use the Sienna Sphere. I didn't really get into the controls of Sienna Sphere. That's not the one we want. But there are the whole guru controls, and you know, you can affect your interaural time angle and all that stuff. But they kind of say just pick something you like and leave it. So how would this sound in, let's say, Apple? If we went Apple Near, how would that sound?
Coming up from behind. Moving faster than what was once a
Just pull that reverb down a bit.
dream in your mind.
And let's say, oh, well, we'd listen to it on the other service. Let's go
I can't wait.
to the standard Atmos snare.
And I won't break.
Hear that? Doesn't sound quite as beefy, does it? It's a little bit different in the mids. So that's something you got to get used to. And I think, you know, when you are, let me stop that. I think when you're mixing with headphones, and I think, let's face it, that's what a lot of people are going to want to do. They want to release their music in Atmos, and not everybody is going to have an Atmos room set up. Most people probably won't. And we will hear time and time again that, yes, the Atmos room is, if you set up an Atmos room properly, or any kind of immersive system, if you set that up properly with the right speakers, hopefully everything the same brand, or at least with the same relative EQ and dynamic response, you've got it calibrated, you got the room treated. I mean, I think that's going to be pretty hard to beat, but let's face it, not everybody's going to have that. And let's face it, on the other end of things too, 90% of listeners don't have that either. Headphones is what they're going to be listening on. So to have a tool like this, where you can switch between all kinds of different, you know, Here we go. Where you can switch between the different ways, the different services they might be on, the different ways that they might hear this mix. And then you've got on top of that the studio rooms, and that's really, I think it's more designed as a mixing aid, you know, to help your mixes translate, because you actually do lose some spatialization with this, but you do gain a sense of like how does it sound. Let's go from the standard Acustica, and then I'll switch it to one of the rooms, and you can see it's just like it takes it even farther out of the speakers, out of the headphones. Here's the 3D. The standard Acustica one, I guess.
Moving faster than what was once a dream in your mind.
Let's try Spatial ATM Improved. I don't think we tried that one.
And I can't wait.
It's really good. Sounds a bit different than the last one. Now let's put a room on.
And I won't break. Coming up from behind.
Hear what that's adding?
Moving faster than what was once a
Let's go back to no room.
dream in your mind. And I can't wait. And
Let's go back to that room.
Coming up from behind. Moving faster than what was once.
So yeah, to me, it's just it's almost like that feeling of like out of body experience a little bit when I got the headphones on, where it's like, okay, even with just the Atmos binauralization, I got the sense of localization and space, but it still everything sounded kind of separate. But when they put these rooms on, all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, you're floating away from the scene. It's not just like right in your ears. I love what it does. But you do have to remember that if you submit Atmos music, you're not going to be like, this is for monitoring. I guess, you know, you could use it as an effect. You know, I guess you could say, oh, what if I just want to make just a regular stereo file, but I'm going to use this as an effect, and I'm just going to get all my 3D that way and then bake it in as an effect. And I would say, yeah, that will work. That file's always going to sound the same. It'll work, but you're losing a lot of the advantages. The whole reason for this next generation audio is, A, that it can change systems on a dime. So you go from 22 speakers down to 12, down to 2, and also because the binauralization in the headphones is customizable. It's not baked in, right? And when you submit an Atmos mix that doesn't have the binaural part baked in, that's done on during playback. So what happens is now you can customize that, because everybody's head is different, and everybody's ears are different, the shape of their ears are different. And when you do experiments, like there are certain settings that work for people and sound more realistic, but another person might have different settings. So if you've baked the binaural in, you've lost the ability to ever improve on the binaural part of it. So if it's not baked in, if binaural technology gets even better and better in the future, and it is getting better all the time, you'll be able to take advantage of that. Whereas if you bake it in, you're stuck with the way that it sounds now. The objects, which we don't have going on in the Reaper here, the objects reportedly have better localization because of that ability to calculate where things need to be depending on how many speakers the playback system has. So the objects, I think, would be something that I would do next time. But before we're at it, let's take another look at how, if you wanted to do Atmos, how you would do it. Let's look at the different ways right now that are available for making Atmos mixes. I think the main thing that people will be, I should have been more organized with the way that I put this together, but there's the Dolby Atmos software from Dolby, sold by Avid. There's two of them. There's the Atmos Production Suite, and that's the one I think that most people will be using. Mac OS only, but it does come with plugins. So that has the plugins that you could load into basically any DAW, and that will talk back and forth with the renderer. There's that separate application that you're running. That'll send all the metadata and your beds. That'll send everything, you know, back and forth, and you can get the rendering that way. But they also have, but that's Mac only, by the way, too. I should mention is that the Dolby Production Suite, Macintosh only right now. I don't know why. Because the rub is when you go up to their, because that's $300 I think US to buy. When you go up to their mastering suite, which is $1,000, then that runs on a PC. And I think you may still need to also run the production suite. So I wonder if that actually requires like 2 computers. They had this weird kind of RMU setup where you've got a dedicated computer just for rendering like film audio. Mostly, I guess it was where in broadcast is where they would use it. They only approved like 2 different kind of computers to do it, and you have to be, your whole place has to be set up to exact specs. I don't know if they send the Atmos cops to investigate or how that works, but so that's one way to do it with the Dolby stuff. Logic users are going to be very happy because Logic Pro has some built-in Atmos functionality, and you can build a mix and deliver it in Atmos without getting the rendering suite. So I'll include the Logic link in the description as well. Nuendo users should also be happy because Nuendo has Dolby Atmos built in right now. And by the way, Nuendo is on sale 40% off, but only for like another 2 or 3 days. It's not a cheap package, but it is very well known in the media, movie, and broadcast world. And that's got Atmos built in. Again, you don't need to use the Dolby rendering software if you don't want to. But I think the Dolby rendering software still does more stuff than what Logic would do or Nuendo would do on its own. I was reading one user, he was talking about one of those two, and that you can't really monitor the binaural properly. But then if you've got something like Sienna Sphere, you're probably good. But probably you would also at one point want to hear exactly what the Dolby renderer is going to do. At probably one point you want to hear exactly what a real Atmos system with the speakers is going to do. But this is such a great tool to get going on things. Now, also there is Pyramix, I believe. Yes, Pyramix has started to integrate it. I think you still need the renderer software to do Pyramix, and it's the same with Pro Tools. You need the renderer software. But what else is there? Check out. I put these in here so I would remember stuff. Here's the Mpeg H authoring suite. I mean, that's great. Mpeg H, you could totally do the whole kit and caboodle. It's just not going to be a Dolby file, an Atmos file. So maybe there's a way to do everything for free and then transfer it over, like convert it. I don't know if maybe somebody that knows better than me. Can you convert an Mpeg H into the Dolby Atmos spec ADM? That is something, if you want to comment below. How can it be done? Is it easy to do? How do you do it? So if you got an Mpeg H and you want to convert it to Atmos. Next generation audio used at Eurovision. This is a cool video. That's awesome. Atmos panel. Andrew Sheps, who's done quite a few. He's been doing Atmos mixing now for a while for music, and he's done quite a few panels and interviews on it. There's one that's like 2 hours long, which is him being interviewed, and this panel, which is like 4 hours long. So I haven't even gotten through them all. So, but that is another thing I could recommend. I don't know. I'm probably forgetting a lot of stuff, but definitely if you Reaper, get the IEM and the EAR. The IEM especially will help with any kind of surround or immersive production, and with Sienna, I think it's going to work because it's basically a binauralizer, so it's going to work for surround mixing, even though it is focused around Atmos. So that's going to have to be up to you on how you're going to approach Atmos when you get there, and then that'll open the up, of course, to the objects, and that's one of the big features of Atmos, and indeed all of the new generation audio. Now I think I've covered pretty much what I wanted to. It's time for me to go, but I hope this was helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that you get started on this amazing technology, because I think this one, surround usually people get excited about it. The industry pushes. There's the format wars, which we're seeing all that again, but it usually dies a slow and highly agonizing death, and I don't think that's going to happen this time. And it's because of the ease of playback, the customizability, and I just hope that they settle on some kind of universal format. The format wars piss me off big time, because I spent half of the night looking up all these different things. And the truth of the matter is, Mpeg H will do all of it. But, are the streaming services going to accept Mpeg H, right? Are they, or is it just going to be a fight between Dolby and 360, Oro in Europe? I don't know. That's the world we live in. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and we're going to see you next time on Obsessive Audio.